focus as I'm talking with members who are up for reelection, really trying to protect those sort of vulnerable Republicans who are in Democratic states such as New York, for an example. But to the core premise, I am worried, just as an American, put my partisanship aside, that we are moving in a direction where bipartisanship is just a word of yesteryear, where there will not be an incentive for political candidates and Republicans of either side to feel the need to work across the aisle. That's not beneficial to anybody, particularly Americans at the lower end of the economic spectrum, to bring it back to the economy.
Yeah, sure, Michael. I'm going to burst your bubble here. That ship sailed. Because it used to be that they used to work across the aisle, but now because there are so few swing districts,
the incentive
is to move. I know. Listen, I appreciate it. I like your glass half full point of view. Adrian, just on the other point that Ron was talking about, which I think is really important. If you look back to 2006, when Democrats won back the House, huge wave. 2018, also big wave, and Republicans had the same big numbers in 2010. As a Democrat who wants to retake the House, even though it's just 3 seats, are you thinking in waves or are you thinking in increments?
Well, I think, Dana, first of all, I was part of the team at the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee during the 2006 cycle, and Ron was also covering that cycle. So it was kind of fun to listen to him reminisce about the good old days when Democrats won back the House. And of course, Nancy Pelosi became Speaker for the first time, making history. All of that being said, I think you did raise an incredibly important point about redistricting. This is a whole different ballgame now this time around for both Democrats and Republicans, because we're seeing mid-cycle redistricting in a historic way that we never have before, which is making these districts and these congressional seats even more entrenched. So yes, typically when a president is under 50%, the opposition party, this time, of course, the Democrats, will pick up anywhere from 22 to 30 plus seats in the House. This could be a little bit different this time because, again, as you mentioned, there is so much redistricting going on. These seats are even more entrenched in either a D or an R category. When I was at the DCCC in 0506, there were a lot of marginal seats, and I think it was something where between 10 and 15 seats, Dana, we won those seats by half a point to a point. You probably are not going to see that as much. You may see some seats, of course, that are that close, but you're probably not going to see the margins that close in a lot of the seats that Democrats will flip. So it's a totally different ballgame. But look, Dana, you look at 2025 for Democrats, great year. We won every single special election. We also won the Virginia governor's race and the New Jersey governor's race. So the statistics for Democrats are looking very good. And also on that note, historically, when Democrats have taken the New Jersey and the Virginia governor's seats, we have won back the House the succeeding year.
I want to play something that Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem said about election security.
I would say that many people believe that it may be one of the most important things that we need to make sure we trust is reliable, and that when it gets to election day that we've been proactive to make sure that we have the right people voting, electing the right leaders to lead this country through the days that we have, knowing that people can trust it.
Sure, Michael, how do you feel about that description, the right people voting, electing the right leaders?
Look, obviously, I'm a Republican. I want voters to vote for Republican leaders. And I think my dear friend Adrian would say she wants voters to vote for Democratic leaders. And I think we would all agree that we want our election process to be secure. But I don't think that that's the role of the Secretary's agency, number one. And number two, if we are going to put a spotlight on election integrity, Ron has written about this in the past. I was actually watching an old clip before this segment of him talking about election interference from international actors such as Russia. And so if we're going to have a conversation about this, one, I don't think it's partisan. And two, I think we need to do a lot more to make sure that Republicans and Democrats pass a type of sweeping legislation to assure that every single American has their vote counted without the interference from foreign actors.
Yeah, it shouldn't be partisan.
And Dana, can I just...
Yeah, go ahead, Adrian.
Yes. Sorry, Dana. I was just going to say, I think sure Michael and I can actually agree on this. First of all, of course, elections should be secure. Elections are secure. They have been historically secure in the United States. It is not the job of Kristi Noem to go out there and make these blatant statements and try to intimidate voters. And I think, Dana, when we see, some of these ICE raids that are going on in the implosion of the National Guard around the country, there is concern that Trump could try to use both the agencies deployed in ICE, the agencies deployed in the National Guard, and try to use the Insurrection Act in a way that's not going to be positive for voters. So I just think everyone needs to stay on top of it. I feel very confident in our secretaries of state across the country that they will continue to do what they've done all along, Democrat or Republican, and that is to administer safe and fair elections.
Adrienne and Shermichael, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it.
Good to see you, Dana.
And an update from the sheriff in the Nancy Guthrie disappearance today. What he's saying tonight